onto muscular tissue. So the properties of muscle tissue are that it's extensible. So it has the ability to stretch beyond resting length, right? So you all know this if you do any sort of stretching or mobility work. It has elasticity. It has the ability to return back to its resting length. Otherwise, when you did a stretch, your muscle would just be sagging behind you. And it has contractility, which means it has the ability to shorten and produce tension or force. And so it is the active force production tissue in our body. So it's kind of a fascicular structure, and it goes from, if we look at the whole muscle belly here, it is wrapped into with connective tissue called the epimysium. And that whole muscle belly is made up of fascicles that are wrapped in paramecium. And within that paramecium, within the fascicle, are capillaries and nerve tissue. And then we have muscle fibers, which are enclosed or wrapped in endomysium. And there's many myofibrils within that muscle fiber. And then we get into the myofilaments and then the actin and myosin. So fibers of a muscle cell are all made up of myofibrils. Myofibrils are chains of sarcomeres, and sarcomeres are made of myosin and actin. So let's look at the sarcomere, which is the smallest functional contractile unit of a muscle. When they slide past each other and form a cross bridge, so when the myosin is connected to the actin, that is when tension or force is produced. And basically, and this will become important in biomechanics, when you form a cross bridge, the number of cross bridges attached is directly proportional to force production. Here's another view of it going from the sarcomere to the myofibril, wrapped in the sarcolemma, which creates muscle fibers, which are wrapped up in the endomysium to create fascicles, which are um, covered in the paramecium, and then the muscle fiber is a bunch of muscle fascicles that is wrapped up in the epimysium. So it is a fascicular structure, and I would find just a picture that makes the most sense to you. Either you go from whole muscle fiber out or from the sarcomere or the myofibril and build the muscle backwards. We also have muscle architecture, and which is basically fiber orientation. All fibers are not parallel. If they were longitudinal and mostly parallel, that's what we call fusiform. If they're angled to one side, that would be unipennate, and that would be our gluteus maximus. We can have bipennate, so you see the tendon running along the center and the fibers are angled at both sides. And that's like our rectus femoris. And then you can have a multipennate muscle, which is kind of like our trapezius. This is a great illustration. Parallel fibers. It's beneficial for large excursions and fast velocities, these nice long fibers. Pennated fibers, you can pack more into a given area. So if we park like this, we can add more cars, and it's beneficial for force and torque production. We also have muscle fiber type, which you probably heard of. Everybody's wondering if they have more slow twitch or more fast twitch. Typically, we're all kind of a nice mosaic, except for, the people at the ends of the bell curve. So we have most limb muscles contain equal distribution. Posture muscles contain more slow twitch fibers for obvious reasons, because you need to stand in a certain posture for a long period of time. Slow twitch are small, red, and have a rich blood supply. They're highly efficient and they do not fatigue easily, and they're suitable for long durations, posture, and endurance events. Whereas fast twitch fibers are large, pale, and less blood supply than slow fibers, and they're suitable for intense force production over short periods of time. Let's talk about our muscle attachments. They attach to specific bony landmarks, and you will learn those bony landmarks, and they're important when you get into your professional life, be it rehab or training people. If you're going to stretch, quote unquote, or lengthen the hamstring muscle, you need to know where it attaches so you know if you're actually lengthening it. So, biceps brachii as our example. The distal tendon attaches to the radial tuberosity, which is on our thumb side, and one proximal tendon goes to the coracoid process of the scapula, and the second one um, goes further up on the scapula. So you usually have distal and proximal attachments. There are three ways a muscle can attach to a bone. Most of us think, oh, muscle, tendon, bone. But it can go via a tendon, like we saw the biceps brachii. Muscles can go directly into bone. So here's the direct attachment, the coracobrachialis, a muscle that everybody forgets. Or it can go in via an aponeurosis. So, and that's just connective tissue that kind of forms a band, and a muscle can attach directly into that fibrous band. Some people call attachment points or the origin, which is the proximal attachment site, and the insertion, the distal attachment site. I will tell you, I'm going to be a little bit more loose on that. If you know the attachment points, I think that's great. And the reason I do that is because when you contract a muscle, it's not like it goes from origin to insertion, contracting. Both attachment points have force produced on them. So when a muscle shortens and contracts and generates force, it's pulling on both attachment points equally.